There's a video going viral on X, formerly known as Twitter, laying out the plight of young people trying to make ends meet. But unlike most videos, this one points out that they continually upload video rants, but once the video is done, they just go back to living their lives, content in the knowledge that they've done something. Unfortunately, real action is required to create change. Those in this particular video appear so frustrated that they don't know what to do, especially when it comes to their rent. Well, let's ditch that frustration and get a healthier perspective on rental options. This is Renter Confidential. As a child growing up, I remember going on trips to the grocery store with my parents. It was a quaint age back when you still had to go to the store yourself. In the produce section, there were only 3, count them, 1, 2, 3 apples. Red Delicious, Golden Delicious, and Granny Smith. As far as I was concerned, those were the only 3 types of apples that existed. So why are we talking about apples? It'll become clear in just a bit. Someone chose to present those 3 options in the grocery store. But I was left completely oblivious to how many types of apples there really were. Now, when you go to the store, you see about a dozen varieties: Envy, Ambrosia, Cosmic, Opal, Pink Lady, Jazz, Sugar Bee, Rocket, Gala, Fuji, Honeycrisp, Brayburn. What the market has chosen to present you has increased by 400%. And that's great because everybody loves having more options. However, did you know that there are as many as 6,000 varieties of apple? 6,000. That's according to Dr. Matt Ordidge at the University of Reading School of Agriculture Policy and Development in the United Kingdom. In fact, the university itself has 2,100 varieties on hand. So despite the increase of 400%, the apples you see in the store are still an incredibly small portion of what's out there in the world, a mere fraction of the true apple universe. To be sure, some of those apples aren't for eating raw, a fact that I discovered by trying to bite into an heirloom variety of a baking apple. I was trying something new and I didn't know it was a baking apple. Although it was fully ripe, it was as hard as a rock and not meant to be eaten raw. So why do I bring this up on a podcast about renting, and why is it relevant to this video on X? Just as people in the market have chosen to present certain apples in the grocery store, other people have chosen which apartments and rental homes to present and how to present them. But just like with the apples, the rental market has presented you with options, but those aren't the only options available. The average 1-bedroom apartment in your area may be $1,800 per month, or $2,000, or even $3,000. But let's take a step back for a second. Where did that price come from? They decided to ask for that price based on their perception of what the rental market would pay for their property. The key words in that sentence are ask and perception. The rent prices you see are asking prices. This means that they're asking for that amount in exchange for housing services. They perceive that enough people have the ability and willingness to fill their vacancies and reach their desired level of occupancy at this chosen price point. Whether you actually pay that amount is another question entirely. Landlords can ask for whatever they want, but that doesn't mean they'll necessarily get that amount from you. In our system of commerce, you still have options. What options do I have, you may ask? Well, we'll get to that after our break for a word from our sponsor, Rental Secrets. This book has helped people save hundreds on their rent. The link is in the show notes, and here's the trailer for this powerful book. America is in the grip of a housing crisis. There's evidence of it in nearly every city. 50% of U.S. households are having difficulty paying rent. And prices? Well, prices are on the rise. Frustration has set in for those trying to make ends meet, and searching for a new place can be a daunting task. It can seem overwhelming. People believe that landlords have all the power. After all, they have what you need. But it isn't true. Yes, you heard correctly. It is not true. You have more power than you think. Inside the new book, Rental Secrets, you'll learn how to reduce your rent. Just imagine having a lower rent payment. Get better value for your money. Paying rent is a struggle. Shouldn't you get more out of each payment? How to negotiate with the right people. Who has the real power to negotiate? Take control of rent renewal conversations. After all, it's your money. And even how to get free rent. Yes, it is absolutely true. Free rent is real, and you can get it. All this and so much more is in Rental Secrets. Get your copy today at Amazon.com. And we're back. Well, thanks for asking. The answer is you have plenty of options. Instead of just being a victim, you can make counter offers. You could share the one bedroom with someone else and pay half. A link to our episode on roommates is in the show notes below. You could choose to become a property manager as a part-time or full-time profession and score free or reduced rent as part of your compensation. You could say no and choose to move to a less expensive area, working remotely. In fact, there are towns and counties across the U.S. that will pay you to move there. Yes, you heard that correctly. Cities, towns, and counties are willing to pay you to move to their locations. Keep an eye out for that in an upcoming episode. You could reject the expensive apartment downtown, find a job where you can work from home, and live further out, which tends to be less expensive. You could buy a motorhome and rent a lot in an RV park. And don't be so quick to laugh. Some RV parks have become downright luxurious and desirable at this point. Or you could do some combination of these. And keeping in mind that this is not an exhaustive list. The business world calls this product substitution. And all of these are real substitution options available to you right now, today. The point of this episode is not to do a deep dive on any of these options in particular. We'll save that for later episodes. My point is that you can't control the residential market. What you can control is how you respond to it. Notice that I didn't say how you react to it. Reacting is what the people in the video are doing. The emotion is raw and the feelings are real, but they haven't taken the time to truly stop and reflect on how to solve their problem. They're complaining about the cost of ready-made, off-the-shelf rental housing solutions that are conveniently presented by the market. One comment on the video suggested that those in the video may want to vote differently next time. That could be one response, but it isn't the only response. Product substitution is as American as apple pie in baseball. If the market isn't working for you, vote with the dollars you have by putting them toward new solutions that do work for you. Is it going to be easy? In a word, no. It's probably not as easy as the off-the-shelf housing solution those in the video clearly don't like. But in the long run, choosing better options will likely lead you to a better place and certainly enhance your financial resilience. Who says you have to get a one-bedroom apartment? Who says you have to live in a certain neighborhood, in a certain city, or even in a certain state? You'll find a link to our previous episode on the value of choosing where you rent in the show notes. Let me be clear. The people in this video are responding to the situation this way because school did not prepare them for the real world. How many financial literacy classes did they likely have? 0. How many negotiation classes? 0. Classes on how renting works? Nada. Classes on critical thinking? 0. And yet the very first steps required after graduation are to negotiate for a job, earn money, and find a place to rent. I'm not placing any blame on them, as it isn't really their fault. As one gentleman in the video points out, they followed the script and did everything they were asked to do. Good grades? Check. College? Check. Find a job? Check. In this specific respect, they were failed by those claiming to prepare them for the future. In my opinion, they were set up to fail, which of course is a topic for multiple conversations in and of itself. A little less time spent defining microaggressions and handing out participation trophies would have gone a long way toward more time for much needed real-world education. So, we've covered apples, housing challenges, and housing options. What's the takeaway? We've been trained to be consumers, to walk into a store, pick up the product that solves our problem, pay, and walk out, never once thinking about whether the market is presenting us with the best options available. Don't always depend on the market to present the housing options you'd like to see on a silver platter. Determine what you want and need, and if the market isn't giving it to you, then create it. You vote with your dollars each and every transaction. Rental housing is no different. The best apple variety I ever tasted grew in my backyard growing up. I didn't even know what it was called, but there was nothing like going outside, picking one of those apples, washing it off, and eating it. And just like that backyard apple, the housing solution that you craft as your response after considering all your options will taste just as sweet. Thanks for watching Renter Confidential. Happy apartment hunting. When it comes to renting, insider information is the best roommate you could ever have. Subscribing to Renter Confidential is the best way to keep the industry insider tips coming. If you're listening to the podcast, you'll also find the show's videos on YouTube and Rumble. You can also follow me for daily tips on social media. You'll find me at Rental Secrets on Facebook and Instagram, while on Twitter, my handle is Rental Secret. And on LinkedIn, I'm Justin Pogue. You can find us online at rentalsecrets.net with free gifts, guest interviews of me on other podcasts, and much more. Thanks for listening.